will be starting in approximately 2 minutes. We will be live in approximately 1 minute. We will be starting in approximately 18 seconds. Hi, and thank you for joining me on this Saturday afternoon. My name is Wayne from Ascend Custom Designs. I am a small business owner and part of the xTool Squad program. What is the xTool Squad? You might ask. The xTool Squad is a global network of experience makers, educators, and small business owners such as myself. We offer one-on-one demos of the products we own. The demos are a mix of online and in person. It differs by host. We also offer material testing and skill training. Material testing involves testing customer supplied samples under a number of different parameters to get you perfect results. And skill training is essentially a one-on-one masterclass with an xTool Squad member. So depending on your requirements, we will help you with whatever issues or training you need. So it might be you need help knowing how to maintain the equipment. We'll go through all that with you, or it might be that you need one-on-one guidance with the software, and again, we'll go through that with you. So please do check it out. I'll show you where it is on the website, but if you want to type it in, it's support.xtool.com/xtool-squad. Alternatively, you can scan the QR code above my head. That will take you to my profile on the xTool Squad. But feel free to choose a host of your liking. Right now, xTool is running a promotion. They've been running it for quite a while. I don't know when they will stop, but the promotion is you can book a one-on-one demo of any of their products absolutely free. So skill training and material testing, that's a paid for item. So if you're looking for skill training, the cost varies by the host. The host sets the price. So I have my own prices for skill training and material testing, and Fred down the road has his own pricing for the same things. When it comes to the product demos, the one-on-one product demos, either online or in person, those are absolutely free. And what happens there is xTool will pay the host, in this case myself or Fred down the road, and they get paid and I get paid regardless if you buy the machine or not. So it's a fantastic opportunity. I don't know when xTool will stop doing this. It's a good chance to get some hands-on experience with one of the machines, and you can see just how easy it is. You can see the pros, the cons, if there is any, and if it aligns for your business. So I highly recommend, where possible, you do an in-person demo. There's a lot that can be done in person versus online. The online aspect is very nice, but I always find the in-person demos a lot more interesting, and you can have a more open and frank conversation, and physically touch the product. It just works out a lot better. So I highly recommend you look for a local host. With that being said, I jump over to the workshop today. So this is a rough idea of the workshop. Something that I always forget to put in there is the discount code, so I lose commission. I should note that too. If you do book a demo with a host or myself, if you do buy a machine within a set period, I think it's 28 days or 30 days, it's a month, we will get a small commission based on your purchase. And again, the demo is absolutely free, and we get paid for the demo regardless if you buy or not. But I also do have a coupon code. It's 6% off. If I do a host assist order, I can get you an additional discount on top of that 6%. This 6% discount does not stack with any existing coupons. So if there's a Father's Day sale, for example, and it works out 7% off, obviously use that Father's Day coupon. But I can get you an additional discount with the host assist. And all that is you just contact me, tell me what you want. I'll send you the link. It's all done through xTool system. So you'll get an email from xTool directly, and there will be an additional discount on there. So this is some of the things that we will be going over today. We'll look at the tech specs of the M2. We'll then have a physical look around of the actual machine. So I'll show you there's not many buttons on it. There's just two, in fact. There's a power button and the on and off button on the back. But we'll have a look at the physical machine. I'll then briefly cover some laser safety. So it's good to know. We will then jump into the xTool Creative Studio software, and then I'll go over all the features in the software, and we'll work on some mediums. So today I want to have a look at some slate. I've not done any slate in this machine yet. I do have some slate samples that I've been working on that I want to test. So it will be a good idea to do that today, I figured. So you can see as I'm learning just how easy it is. So I've done slate many times in all of my machines. So it's a very easy medium to engrave. It's very forgiving. So this is not going to be too difficult. With that being said, if I jump over to the xTool, see, we're not doing that. It would help if I had the correct slides open, and there we go. So if we jump over to the xTool M2, so this is a 10 watt, 20 watt diode laser machine. So depending on what model you get, you'll either get the 10 watt or 20 watt version. So I have the 10 watt version. You can also get an additional infrared module that operates on a completely different spectrum of light. So you can engrave different materials. So if you're looking at engraving metal, you would want the infrared module. And that's a 3 watt infrared module. It says it's coming soon, but I believe it's already out. It's just on back order. So it's out, but if you've ordered it, there might be a slight delay. This machine also has a CMYK inkjet module. So the CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is for black. So it's full color. And this is a fully enclosed class 1 laser. So what that means is you cannot operate this laser with the lid open. So the lid has to be all the way down. So you don't need any safety glasses when you operate this machine. So unlike some of the other machines where you can operate it with the guard open, it has a class 1 mode with the guard down, but because you can override it, it's a class 4 laser. So you will need to wear safety glasses. When you do that, you do not have to worry about it at all. In terms of the specs, it has a dual camera system. So this has some technology from the more expensive models like the P2S. So it has a dual camera system. It has a 5 megapixel panoramic camera. and that is located on the lid, which I'll show you when we have a physical look. And then you have that 2 megapixel close-up camera, which again, I'll show you where that is. It sits next to the where the module sits, or where the diode or the infrared or the inkjet module sit. It's just to the right of it when you're looking at the machine head on. It's able to auto detect material. This is actually quite handy. I've not found any material that it hasn't detected. With that being said, it is all pretty standard material put in there. And then in terms of speed, it operates at 600 millimeters a second. So if you've joined me for some workshops when I've showed you the F series, you'll see that there's a very big difference in terms of speed. So this is very slow in comparison to the Galvo lasers, and that's simply because this is a gantry-based laser. It has to physically move, whereas the Galvo lasers use a mirror to bounce the laser around the bed. So that's why they're able to achieve such rapid speeds. But one of the downsides of a Galvo laser is the work area. So this has a much larger work area. So if you're looking at working on much larger projects, this is what you would need. So you would need a gantry-based laser. In terms of the workspace, it's 42.6 centimeters by 32 centimeters roughly. And again, it comes pre-assembled, like all their machines. You just have to do some brief calibration and you're good to go. And if you want to find out more information, you can scan the QR code to the side, and that will take you to xTool's website. And with that being said, if we jump over to xTool's website, I'll just show you some of the specs on the website. So for the very base model, for the 10 watt with no additional accessories, it comes in at $599. So it's very, very affordable machine. I'm actually shocked at how cheap it is, how they can cram all this technology, and with its sheer size into that price point is fantastic for us consumers. And again, it's a class 1 laser, so you don't have to worry about having safety glasses like you would another laser. There's different modules for it. You're able to engrave on rotary items using the RA3 light, and that changes the orientation of the laser. So it's actually a pretty genius idea. You're able to change it from shooting down to shooting to the side, as you can see here. And because of that, you don't need that riser bed, so that's reduced the cost. One of the downsides with no riser bed is you do have a limited working height. I'd like to say it's 24 mil. Sorry, I like to say it's 24 mil, 2.4 centimeters. But we'll scroll down to the bottom and it should tell us in terms of the working height. There's the working area, so 16.7 inches by 12.5 inches. And if we scroll down, you can see all the different things you can do. So just here you saw some tattoos. So I should note that the xTool is releasing tattoo paper. It's passed its safety certification, so stay tuned. So it's got some skin safety certification, so they're doing everything correct. So you're able to print directly to that and make the stickers like you can see here. And you're able to engrave and print on a wide range of materials, especially with that infrared module. You can engrave on metal with that. And in terms of the tech specs, let's have a look. Should have the max working height. So the work area that I listed, that is with the laser modules. When you use an additional module, so this 3 watt infrared, you do lose some work area, and that's because it's a bigger module. And again, with the inkjet mode, you do lose some work area. So you have the maximum work area with the diode lasers. And then the laser spot size. So this does make a difference. So these are some very technical information, and I'll explain what that means. So the diode, all lasers have a dot size. So the smaller the dot size, the more detail you can cram in. So think of it when you're drawing. If you're trying to draw with a permanent marker, you're not going to be able to get the intricate detail you would if you're drawing with a sharp pencil. So the 10-watt diode laser is slightly smaller than the 20-watt, which is very typical. So if I'm engraving a slate coaster and I have lots of details, if I do same image on two different slate coasters with the 10-watt and with the 20-watt, you should in theory see more detail with the 10-watt. And then here we have the actual product dimensions and its weight. It's not that heavy. So in terms of working height, don't think it lists it, unfortunately, but I believe it's 2.4 centimeters. So it's not that much, but it's enough if you're cutting wood. And it's able to engrave on cylindrical objects because you change the orientation of the laser. So it does come in very handy. So there are some things that this machine can't do. So we'll get that out of the way too. So the M2 does not have a blade. So if you're looking to cut vinyl, the M1 Ultra is what you want. There is certain types of vinyl, very specific type of vinyl, should I say, that you can cut with a laser. And that is because it doesn't contain PVC, it doesn't contain that harmful chemical that makes it very dangerous to use a laser on vinyl. As a rule of thumb, I don't cut vinyl at all on any of my lasers. If I'm looking to cut vinyl, I use a vinyl cutter, or in this case, you can use the M1, which is a vinyl cutter with the blade. So if you're looking to cut vinyl, the M1 Ultra is where you want to be. If you're getting stuck, please do reach out. I've lost out on a few sales of the M2 because people were looking to cut vinyl with it. And I'm a very safety oriented individual. And I made it clear that the M2 is not suitable for cutting vinyl that has PVC in it. So a lot of people that are looking to cut vinyl on a laser engraver, they already have a stock of vinyl, and it's going to be very going to cost a lot of money to replace all that vinyl. So it's cost prohibitive. So in which case I would say keep with the vinyl cutter and add the M2 to your laser game. So I don't know why you want to replace the one with the other unless you're limited space. But with that being said, we'll jump over to the physical demo. But before that, I just want to highlight that the print, so the print head that comes with this, it's water soluble. So if you're looking to print onto clothes or objects that are going to get wet, please note that because it's water soluble, it will run or bleed potentially. There are ways to seal it, but we won't cover that. So just know that it is water soluble. You can't just print onto a t-shirt, for example, and not do anything else with it. If that t-shirt then goes into the wash, more than likely it will bleed and it will fade out. So I should note that. And one of the other things I want to note is the M2 has air assist built in. So if you're wondering why there's no air assist pump, it's because it's already built into the actual machine itself. And I think that is pretty much it in terms of things I wanted to mention. So if we go over to an actual physical look of it, what I'll do is I'll switch over to this. So this is the physical machine itself. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to my iPhone camera. So hopefully you should. There we go. So if we go over to the actual machine itself, I just want to highlight a few things. So this is the panoramic camera. So this is on the lid. One of the things I like about this is when I shut the lid, it beeps. So I don't know if you can hear that. If I continue talking, there we go. It makes a beeping sound. What that does is it takes a picture every time that lid's opened and closed, or closed. So as soon as you close that lid, it takes a picture. So it's quite wonderful. In terms of the actual machine itself, so this is one of the heads. So this is the laser module. I can tell that because it says 10 watt. So this is the 10 watt module. To remove it and switch it out, it's a simple case of just unplugging this. So this is a simple USB-C to USB-C cable. And then all I'm doing is just pulling that off. It's magnetic. So you can see these magnetic pins. So you have one here and one here. And it's that simple. And it's a case of snapping it in place, just like that. And then you would just plug it in here. So I'll leave that unplugged for the moment. And then in terms of the other camera, it is underneath here. I don't know how well you can see it, but the camera is underneath here. It should be here. So that's the close-up camera. And you can see this is a gantry-based laser, so it will move from left to right, up and down. So I hope that makes sense. In terms of buttons, this is the button on the front. So when you send the job, you have to press this button on the front and it will start the job. In terms of the back, there is a power switch on the back. And I don't know how well you can see that, but it's just there. And then I do have this venting outside. I do have that blanket there, and that's just to stop the glare. But that is pretty much it. If I switch over to my hand tilt zoom camera, you should hopefully see the physical machine. Go. Okay. And again, that there is the panoramic camera that takes a picture of the whole of the bed. And again, this just pulls off. And if I wanted to attach the ink module, which I do have, so the ink module has a cap and that stops the ink from drying out. There's two holes here. So what it does is when I use this ink module, it will reach and put this cap under these two hooks in the corner of the bed, and it will pull it off. So it pretty much does that. So xTool have a genius solution. And again, this just snaps into place and I hold the one side, just plug it in. It's literally that simple. It's a very simple way to switch between the different heads of the machine. And again, I'll take that off. I'll put this out. And again, you can see the size difference of these modules. So this is the print module and this is the laser module. You can see the size difference. So if I put them together, you can see that size difference. So that is why you lose some space. So we'll use the laser module, and that's a 10 watt laser module. So I'll take this out of the bed. I do have a additional cover. So this is what I have from all the different lasers I've owned. So this is to start marking the bed. So because I use this for demo purposes, I like to keep my bed as pristine as possible. So when I'm engraving, I just put this down. You don't have to do that. This bed is very safe. You will end up engraving it, honestly. I've engraved the bed of all of my lasers. It doesn't damage it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some slate in there. And what we will do is we will do a test engrave on some slate. So I have this slate coaster. I tried to put some lacquer on it, and I didn't use as much power as I wanted. I did this in my UV laser, so this was one of my early tests. So what we're going to do is we're going to engrave on the back, but what we'll do is we'll test and see just how good the auto detect is. So I've removed the plate that I have for personal use from the bed. I'm just going to close that. So that's in there. So now if I go over to the software, so this is xTool Creative Studio. If you're wondering how you get this, you simply navigate on the website, top, software, xTool Studio, and you can download the latest version there. So it knows that I'm running Apple Silicon. I download it, install it, and you're literally good to go. You can create a free account, and that will sync your account up with if you've got it installed on various PCs. So I have this xTool Creative Studio installed on multiple PCs. I have it installed on at least 2 Windows 10 machines, several Windows 11 machines. I have it installed on my Mac. There is also just recently released an xTool Studio app. So an app for the phone or tablet. So I have the app on my phone and I have the app on my tablet, my iPad. I will say it's in its very early stages, and at the moment it only supports the xTool F2. But more support for more products will come later. But at the moment, your primary source of controlling the laser will be through the desktop app. So you just click download, install it, go through the prompts, and you're ready to go. And while we're on this website, I'll just show you where you get access to the xTool Squad. So you go to local service along the top, product demo, and you're able to select a person. So if we go to London, I can go, we're looking for in person, and there we go. And it's literally that simple. I can filter it out by the type of machine, so I can go metal fab. So you have your different ways. xTool also do have a little banner. So when you go to the M2, for example, you can book a demo there. So check that out, and that will take you to the same page. I should note that this here, where it says the apparel printer film, that's not a demo in the sense of you get a one-on-one demo. That's just a physical demo or physical sample, should I say, of the film, and there is a cost for that. So that's £12.99 Great British pounds. And the reason for that is the host has to use their ink, so there's a cost to the host, obviously for the ink and the film. So you get a big roll of it, and postage and packaging. So that's what that is to cover. But if you want an actual demo, either in person or online, their Power Printer and all of their products absolutely free at the moment. So I highly recommend you check that out. Now if we jump over to the xTool Creative Studio, this is literally where we make all of our ideas into finished products. And it's a simple case of going and navigating the new project. So you do have some items down the side which I will highlight. So this atom projects. So xTool haven't just created software where you control your laser, they've created a whole ecosystem. So this atom is a part of that ecosystem. So this is where we're able to find and upload. So you're able to share projects you're working on as well as download other users' projects. So you're able to get up and running straight away. So you might have some wood slices and go, do you know what? I want to engrave that for my next door neighbor. They're cat crazy. This will suit them to a T, and you're able to do that. So I could just go, I want to open just the SVG or the PNG in this case, and it will automatically open. The xTool Studio will automatically connect to the last laser that you used. So in this case, I scroll up to the top. switch device / connect device, and I'm able to connect to a different device, say the M2. And there we have it. It's got a camera. It's took a picture of it. So I delete that. What I should also note that if you download this software today, you can have a play around with it. Although you won't have a laser, you can see just how it operates. And the way you do that is when you click on this button, you can go to device library and you can select a device. You can go, okay, the M2, what does the P2S look like? I've done demos of machines that I don't even have. So for example, I did a demo of the P3. Someone wanted to know certain features of the P3. I was able to show them just by going here. So they wanted one specific machine, and then in the end, it's what they needed was another machine. And you can see how all these things slightly change. So in this case, we're demoing the M2. So if I switch back to that, this home button at the top, the home icon. So this takes us back to this main screen here. So we've looked at the Atom. Then you've got the xTool Academy. So the xTool Academy is an official resource from xTool. I constantly get asked if there's official resources, not just manuals, but physical videos. Yes, there is. So you click on the relevant machine and you're greeted with the different courses, so to speak. So if I go S1 and see all the S1s, I highly recommend you go to General. And from here, you can do the laser safety training. So that's just good knowledge to have. Some aspects do apply to the machine, the M2. Some of it doesn't, but it's just good to have. If you do upgrade to a different machine, it's definitely good knowledge to have. And you get a certificate at the end of it. There is also some courses with collaborators. So Paul has done a great course on how to start and scale your laser business. So he's a successful Etsy seller. So I highly recommend you check Paul out and follow his YouTube. So his socials are all down here. So highly recommend you do that. This is a very easy to follow course. And we don't promise you that you'll get rich quick. So in terms of business, it always goes slowly. So it's not one of these how to make 100 grand in less than a week. You won't find that. Can you do it? Probably, but is the likelihood of it happening like that very low? My advice is always to start simple. Find a specific product. It might be slate coasters, and perfect it. So once you've got that project perfected, then move on and add an additional product to your business. And then there's the interface where we do all the magic. So where we add stuff to the workspace and then it gets engraved. So what I'm going to do is enable the pan-tilt zoom camera in the bottom corner. So this is a third-party camera. And what I'm going to do is just test out the material. So if I click on material, I can just select slate. Yeah, so slate is here. So although it doesn't look the same, slate is slate, but there's no parameters available for this. So when it says that, what that means is when I enter in this, I'll change this to a different color. So you can see it better, maybe red. 1%, that means that the settings aren't applied for this specific material. So if I go to Cork Coaster, no parameter set, there we go. You can see that the parameters are set there. There we go. So square rock coaster, 90% power, 180 speed, 100 lines per centimeter. So it's very simple. You just select the actual material that you want to work on, and it will automatically have the correct settings, and that will change depending on what you're doing. So if you're doing a score, down to 45% power, engrave 90% power. So you can see just how it changes. What we'll test out now is the auto material detection. So I'll close out of it. I'll start a new project. And then I'm going to this unknown material. When you have the M2, you will see the AI material recognition. So if I do this on the F1, for example, so I'll click on this new plus button here. I'm just going to switch the laser. I'm going to switch to the F2. That's the baby laser. Now, if I go to unknown material, you can see the difference. There is no AI material recognition. So this is an M2 feature. So if this is your first laser, this will help you greatly. If you're not sure what settings to engrave on something, this will help you greatly. I mean, xTool does have a very extensive material library that you can select from. And usually if you get it in the ballpark, you can tweak the settings yourself and get you ideal results. So here we're going to click on AI material recognition. So we have two ways to get the photos. The first is I can take pictures myself and add them. So I can physically take pictures on my camera, put them on my computer, drag and drop them into this box. Or the preferred way is capture with the device camera. So I'm going to click on that. So it's taking a picture now. You can then write in some information about what it is. So it could be, this is a slate coaster. So you could say slate material. I won't do any of that. I'm just going to let AI take care of everything because I'm lazy. So now it's using the AI recognition feature. I'm not sure if this is done on device or if it's done in the cloud. I've not tested that out yet with my computer that doesn't have internet on it. So here, even though there's an image on it, so this is a previously used, so I just kept this as a spare to do some testing on the back. This is come up as a black slate coaster. And again, 45% power. This one should be 90, I guess, or maybe not. This is saying 50% power. So we're C, coming up 300 lines per centimeter. You can't really cut slate. And then the bitmap engrave. So that is if you're engraving a picture. It's also got settings for that. So I think what we will do is if we hit apply and save, I'm going to show you one of the other features that I like about this machine. So I did mention it. And it's when you open up the bed. So at the moment, you can see the bed on the screen. You can also see my laser engraver in the bottom left corner. So I'm going to open the lid. And what I'm going to do is flip the laser on the underside. And you can see it's automatically updated that picture on the screen. So this is fantastic. So this comes in handy because more often than not, so if I was to just zoom over to my other machine, let me, I think it is frozen. Let me switch. There we go. Let me turn this off. There we go. Okay. So let me show you that again because my camera had frozen. So what I'm going to do is show you the screen again. There we go. So if I lift this up, I've just switched it over. There we go. You can see how easy. So this is me doing it in real time. So again, we're looking at engraving on the back, this slate coaster. And it's just that simple. If anyone has any questions about that, please do let me know. So we've automatically detected the material and it comes up AI in front of it. So that's how you know if it's AI. So when I have a look at my recent materials, I can see AI. I've selected that, I've selected that, I've selected that, that's AI. And it's really nice. It's a very quick way where you can add your own materials and come up with your own settings and save it. And this will sync with your specific account. So I should note that I'm logged in to my account. How do I know that I'm logged in? I'm logged in here. So I got my profile picture there. And then there is also this AI aspect. So we'll engrave something and we'll use this AI aspect. So we could pull something from a project or a template. What we'll do is we'll grab something from scratch. So I can just see right now that if I make this like that, this AI make has been updated again. So if you tuned in yesterday, this did not look like this yesterday. So xTool are constantly tweaking the interface, constantly adding new features. So let's see how this has changed. So I'm looking to do an engraving. Very simple. So it's the first option. And then what type of engraving am I looking at doing? I want to do a line drawing. I want to do an exquisite carving. So if I go line drawing, I'm then able to select what specific type of line drawing. So I could have a fine line art, which is my typical go-to. So I do this if I'm engraving on slate or if I'm engraving on wood. Minimalistic, kids drawing. You also got the option of a pet engraving. So I could engrave a picture of my pet. So it's actually quite simple. And you've got all these different options. If you're doing a 3D engrave, so I have the F2 Ultra UV, and I can do a 3D engrave of pretty much anything. I can turn something into 3D. There is a cost to this AI make. So you do get down here, as you can see, free 2/3. So you get free usage a month. So you do get to taste it. And I think when you sign up, you get 200 credits for free. The credits are very inexpensive. If you hover over the bottom, buy credits. 500 credits for $5. 1,000 credits for $10. 2,000 credits for $20. And you do get a little bonus on top of that, depending on what you buy. What I will say is it's fantastic for what it is. It works out, what is it, 6p a generation, because when you generate something, it costs 6 credits usually. They have added a different mode, which is 15. I've not used that yet. I'd be lying if I said I did. For the most part, I just do fast mode and it's 6 credits. So 6 credits ends up being what, 6 cents, 4 or 5p in British money. And for what it is, you're able to quickly get photos that are laser ready. So here's the key thing, it's laser ready. So you can use your third-party programs such as ChatGPT, Ideogram, these other Midjourney, but you will have to end up doing something to those photos. The benefit of this is it's all done with lasering or printing in mind. So you can switch it between what you want. So if you're printing, if you have the Apple printer or the upcoming Omni printer, so the UV printer, you can create stuff that's print ready or from within one interface. You don't have to load several different programs. this is the benefit of xTool, is they've created everything in such a way. It's a very much a complete ecosystem, especially now that they've integrated custom things into their lineup. So if you're wondering what custom things is, custom things allow you to sell your products online, or if you have a physical store. So you're able to take orders and you're able to set parameters to them orders. So for example, the slate coasters, I could have the slate coaster all set up, and I could use these settings here that it automatically generated. So these power for the cutting, which obviously this won't cut, but the power for the engraving, the bitmap engrave, scoring. You have all these variables set up. It's very simple, very straightforward. And then a customer will do their own design and it will pop up within xTool Creative Studio. You click on open and it will just open up as if you've opened up a third-party project. And all you have to do is do what you do best, engrave and ship the product. So xTool have created a complete ecosystem. So if you're looking to make money, but you're looking to make money in a way that is sustainable, xTool have you covered. They very much have a process that makes it nice and easy to get other people on board. So you could be customer facing and you could have someone that has had just an hour or less training, and they could be the ones that are engraving all the products. It's very straightforward. So if we do a previous design, so if I click on this icon up here, this is a historic chats that I've had. If I go to image, and I'll just find an image that I've done. So this is an image of my dog. So we'll see just how well this engraves. If I click on that, that's not a line drawing, so that's my friend's dog. If we find the line drawing of my dog in particular, so this is some pictures that I've done of me. So this is me and my dog. We do this. So this is, we use this for our wedding. So this is very much a line drawing. So if you're wondering how I got this, I used AI Make, and the original picture I'll drag on the screen now. This was the original picture. So if I zoom out, if I just get rid of that, this was the original picture. I used AI Make and it turned it into that. So if I'm trying to engrave that onto slate, it's not going to turn out the way that you intend it. So when you start working with the different mediums, you understand that you have to process things in a certain type of way when you're engraving on wood versus silicone. So when I've engraved on silicone or plastic, so AirPods, I know that I need to do things in a certain way, or I can do certain things that I couldn't do on wood. So because we're engraving this on slate, what I'll do is I'll cut out. So I'll just get rid of the background, and it's that simple. So if I start again, I've just clicked on the image, click on cutout along the top, and boom, it's cut out. You can also do it with AI. And again, there is a cost to this. There's 6 credits. It will show you a preview. But as you just saw, I was able to do that better with doing it myself. And then what I'll do is I'll zoom in here and I'll get rid of some of the other aspects. There we go. I think that looks grand. Now we've got this white space. So you can see this big blue rectangle or square. So if we hit crop, we're just going to get rid of that white space. And it's a simple case of just moving the different points down. And it's that simple. Now you might be saying, okay, we can put that on there. It's automatically come up with the parameters. I don't know if these are good. We're about to find out. So this has taken a picture of the bed. We do have that second camera. So first off, we refresh the background. That's just taken another picture. If I show you the pan tilt zoom camera, you can then click on the close shot and you can get a close-up picture. And if I just do that, you can see the camera moved into place and it took a picture. And as you can see, it looks vastly different. So if I take another picture, that's the panoramic. And if I do a half and half, so you can see. So that is the difference. That is the close-up camera. That is not. And you can see here, just panoramic gets you in the general vicinity, but it's not accurate, as you can see the difference there. So you might say that one picture is not enough. You can stitch pictures together. I just drag and drop and it will stitch several pictures together, and you can see up here where it says loading, taking local photo, and it will give you then a picture. You can see here that it's done that. It's automatically come up with thickness, which I quite like, but if you want to get the thickness, you just aim somewhere. So I might aim on the feet, so the feet should be a little bit higher. So that's saying it's 7.79, which we know is not the case. Again, that's just a normal picture. So let's take a picture of this. And what we'll do is we will aim and we'll take a picture of the middle. So to get a there, you can see it moving. And there is a little bit of variation with this. So this is very much an approximate measurement. So you can see I aimed at the middle, 4.06. And if I do it again, aim in the middle, that might change to 4.04. Or in this case, that. So we're not going to get too hung up on that. And what I'll do is I will drag that down and we'll engrave it in the middle between feet. So you can also do a frame. So when you do a frame, if I click frame, it will move it in position. If I zoom in just a little bit, I will open up the lid. I don't know how well you'll see the blue light, but it will emit a blue light. So I've opened that up. Let me zoom in. There we go. And what I do is I just press the button on the front and it will do a frame. So that will move around, that blue light. So you can see the area that it's going to engrave on. And I know that's not helpful with what you can see at the moment, but that is helpful to know that it's engraving where I expect it to engrave. So that's engraving exactly where I expect it to engrave. If I just leave that zoomed in, framing complete. So what I will do is I'll engrave that, but as I know this is slate, when you engrave slate, the area you engrave turns black. So by that I mean it will ignore these white lines here. So xTool software is very genius in the sense of it will know what medium you're operating on. So it knows that I'm doing slate coaster. If I click on this auto adjust, it will optimize it. So in this case, it actually didn't. So what we want to do is when we do slate coaster, we always want to invert the image. And the reason for that is will become obvious when we do it. Because it's a black medium that turns white, you want to reverse it. It doesn't make sense, but it will when you do it. If I hit process, This is going to take 12 minutes and 20 seconds. So if I start that now, and to get it going, all I do is I hit this button here. Now, we do have an option. So if I just show you this full screen here, you do have enable monitoring. If I click on that, I can actually see a live preview from the machine itself. So in the bottom corner, bottom left corner, you can see the external camera, and in the software, you can see what's actually happening. So what we've done is we have engraved in between the feet on the back of the slate coaster. So this is going to take 12 minutes. And bear in mind, if what you're going to engrave on is, let's just say you're solely going to do coasters or small items, the M2 might sound like the machine you want, but the machine you probably need would be the F1, the F2. So I always ask people what they're intending to do with the machine, and that's not to make you buy a more expensive product. Sometimes people want the most expensive product because it sounds the best, but what they need is a cheaper product. So for example, someone wanted to engrave on glass. They wanted the F2 Ultra, and that's what, $5.5 grand, something like that. But because they wanted to specifically engrave on glass, and that's most of what they do, glass ornaments for Christmas, medals. What they needed was the F2 Ultra UV, which is cheaper at $4 grand. So it really depends on what you're doing. This is the benefit of speaking to a host, is you can see what they do. And it might be that you choose a host where you're looking to do similar products that they're already doing, and you can get advice as to, you know, what goes great, what doesn't go great, what machine to have. So for example, if you're looking to cut acrylic, all colors of acrylic, then I know straight off the bat that you're looking for a CO2 laser. If you're just happy with cutting dark acrylic, then a diode can do that. But specifically acrylic, you want a CO2 laser. So while that is working away, we can actually continue working. So if I show you, if we hit this minimize at the top, down here, you can see the task list. I can actually open up a new tab and line up the next product for the machine, or I can have a different machine entirely. So I can go back to this M2, you can see it's busy, but I can line up the next project, and I can go, do you know what? The next thing I want to do is I need to print something. So I'm going along this mode here, and this is where you change the different modes. So I want to print something. It's automatically taken that off the area because the print module is bigger, so you lose some area. Or I could go, do you know what? I need to do something on my F2. And this will take a picture, and I can use my F2. So I could do the same thing on my F2, and it will take very little time. So if I was to just have a look, paste that in there, and if I was to select the correct material, so let's just go with that. To do this same design, if I hit process, it's going to take 3 minutes 37 seconds, and that's not even at the maximum speed. So I could go 80% power, and with that I could go 40. No, I'll do 90% and 35. And I could speed it up greatly. So 3 minutes 14. And this is a bitmap. So bitmap images engrave very differently than SVGs. Where possible, I like to convert a lot of things to SVGs. They're more efficient in terms of the algorithm, And you'll find that SVGs will engrave a lot quicker than when you're engraving a picture. When you do engrave a picture, you do have different modes that you can use, and these are the different algorithms. So when you go over to it, you can see, so typically I use Jarvis or Stucky. Those are the ones I typically use when I engrave on bitmaps, but you can see a breakdown of what the different modes are when you're engraving. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, you might be looking at a different algorithm, and they will take different amounts of time. So this Jarvis here, this will take 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Now, if I change that same image, so I left all the power that's exactly the same, and if I change this to Stucky, 3 minutes and 14 seconds still. So that was a bad example on my half. Go with grayscale maybe. 3 minutes 48. So you can see that there is some variation. I think Stucky and Jarvis are really similar, which is why they come out exactly the same times. If we try doing Floyd, 3 minute 15. So it's 1 second longer than the default Jarvis. But you do have all these different options. And with a laser machine, it's one of these things that you will learn so much once you get it, which is why this free product demo that xTool are offering is very important, especially if you can visit an actual host. So if you can visit a host and get a demo, physical demo of the machine, test out the software. I have a machine just over here. So if I was to change that, there we go. If I was to just zoom out here. So I have a little PC set up here. Can't really see it, but at the moment I have all this on there. If I just switch, there we go. So I have a Windows PC that's ready to go for customers to look at. So I can operate it on my computer over there. They can also operate the software on this PC here, and they can test it out to their heart's content. So you're not stuck operating it on a single PC. If you go to a physical host, you can get some hands-on experience of a machine, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I can't recommend it enough. If I go, that's still just working away. And we just have a look. So I can click on this. This will just take me back over here. If I click on that, we'll have a look, see what's happening. So I'm going to go over and have a look at the physical I could have made this bigger, so I've probably made it too small in the sense of that there's some details that are getting lost by the looks of it. So this is where the dot size comes in. So when we zoom in here, if the dot size is bigger than that, you will lose that detail. So I hope that makes sense. So if the paintbrush, so the laser as a dot size, and if the image that you're engraving is so tiny or has such tiny details, when it engraves it, it's obviously going to be bigger than the detail it's trying to engrave, and so you'll lose it. So that is something to note. So in terms of the dot size, the largest, the smallest, so the CO2 lasers generally have a larger dot size than the diode. And then the diode dot size depends on the wattage typically. So the 40 watt of the S1, for example, has a larger dot size than the 20 watt or the 10 watt of that same for that model. The infrared laser, the IR, generally has a finer dot size. So what I could have done if I had the infrared module on this machine, I could have engraved slate using the infrared module. It doesn't turn out as white, but when you engrave using the different lasers, you get slightly different results. But you might take a lighter engrave with more detail over an engrave that's nice and dark, but doesn't have that detail, that photo level detail. So what I would have done typically is with this image in particular, I would have engraved it using my UV laser. The UV laser has the finest dot size of all of them. It's like painting with a strand of hair. The amount of detail that you can get is phenomenal. So if I was to switch over my desk, so these are just some things that I've engraved. I did this on the F2. So this was done with the infrared laser. So you can see the detail. It's not as dark or not as white. It's more gray. But the level of detail, I can see all the strands of hair of my dog's foot. And that was his foot when he was 6 months old. So I've engraved on the back. This was done with a diode laser. Very nice and simple. This was done on my S1 a while back. And I've not engraved on the back of that. Now this here was done on my F2 Ultra UV. And the amount of detail you can get, you can see it's absolutely phenomenal. That looks like it's been printed, but that's very much engraved. And you can see this is a ring plug. This isn't anything special. This is not, no camera trick. So I did that just as a test. And I have got that same image on my watch strap. So this is my Apple Watch strap. And again, this is a nice white watch strap. So the contrast you get is phenomenal. So it's all about using the right laser for the job. So you'll find that when you start getting hands-on experience, you'll know what is the best tool for the job. But the M2 is a great all-round machine. So that job has finished. It popped up and said it was finished. So if we jump over now to the machine, and then I'll have a quick look. Okay, so if we switch over to the desk, we'll just have an honest look. So I could have done this bigger. So we just lost some details around my eyes, but if I made this bigger, you would have got better detail. As you can see that engraved. So if you're doing a vector graphic like this, absolutely fine. This one here was a photo level. So I run it with low power as a test, but this was done on the F2 Ultra UV, but you can see the level of detail you can get with these lasers when you get the settings correct. And it's quite amazing. So don't worry, I guess. I'd be lying if I said there's no learning curve, but the learning curve isn't going to come from the software. You'll pick up on the software, how to use this software, very simple. The learning curve is going to be depending on the medium you're using. So if you're using wood, it's getting the right settings for that medium. And it's very straightforward. People have asked me, why do you offer material testing as a service if it's so simple? Because I've showed people how to do material testing many, many times. So if I just show some material testing very briefly, what you do is you navigate over to this panel here, applications, and you've got something called material test array. Click on that. And by default, you get the xTool logo, which is generally what I use. Sometimes I do a square. If you want to do a square, So typically, if I don't do an xTool one, I will just make a little square. So you go over to here, rectangle. I will select that and I'll go, do you know what? I want it to be 3mm by 3mm. There we go. So we got a nice square. What I'll do then is I'll highlight that and I'll go material test array. And then I can select what type of test I want to do. So I can add, delete. So in this case, I'm going to do an engrave test. So if I engrave that, that's gone solid. I'll make that red so we can see it easy. So right click, click on the red layer, material test array, and there we go. So that's going to engrave. And it's going to use a max of 100% power and a minimum of 10% power. The spacing, you can add more space into it. So you can say, do you know what? Well, sorry, the space in here. So I can go, do you know what? I want there we go. So they're spaced out more evenly. So you can see here is 600 speed, 10% power. And you basically get a color chart. So if I show you that under my desk camera, so this is one that I did on the F2. And you can see just how simple it is. So that I know is too much. So 200 speed, 62% power, that will cut through the material. And it might be that I want certain text to go like a nice white color, whereas others I want like a darker color. So you're able to get not colors, but you're able to differentiate the engraves on the material. Not always, but you can see that. And I like to keep these. You take a picture, you can upload it to the software, but it's very simple to do these material tests. And to answer a lot of people's questions on why it's a paid for service when it's so simple. And the simple answer is a lot of people want to know if the machine will engrave on that material before they even buy. They don't want to buy the machine, then do a test, find out they're not getting ideal results. It's not going to work out. So what happens is a prospective customer will reach out to myself or another host. We'll have a conversation. They send us the materials to test, and we will test it before they buy a laser. So I've done this for numerous customers. I've got numerous test materials from customers. So a good example of this would be a prospective customer has sent me this. So this is a medical box. This plastic is laser safe, so I can engrave it. And the issue is this sticker comes off in the wash. So I did a materials test on the back, as you can see here. So I did this on the UV laser. I was then able to specifically pick one that I liked. This was the first one. I wasn't quite happy with how this come out. I then adapted the settings just a little bit, and this is perfect. And yes, this is not white like that, but this is a label, a DTF, a UV DTF label that will come off in the wash eventually. This has marked it, so it's changed the, it's chemically marked it with the laser. Effectively, the lasers change the chemical markup or the color. So this will never wash off. It will never fade away. And that's just one of many, many examples of why we do the material testing. So I hope that makes sense. That is all we have time for. I've gone over. Today is a lot of time. I hope that makes sense. And again, if anyone wants to reach out, please do let me know. There is a coupon in effect at the moment to get you 6% off, and it is Wayne 6%. And again, I can offer you an additional discount if you reach out to me. I can do what's called a host assist order, and you order direct from xTool, you'll get an email direct from xTool. It just means you get an additional discount that I'm able to apply, and that will stack with any other discount. So I will say that the discount code Wayne 6% will not work with other discounts. So if a current discount gives you 4%, remove that discount, add Wayne 6%, and that will give you 6%. The Father's Day sale, you might get 7% discount, in which case save yourself some money and use that. If you want an additional discount, reach out to me. I can do the host assist order and you can get the Father's Day discount plus an additional discount. So I hope that makes sense. You can get me on email, wayne@ascendcd.com. You can reach out to me via phone, and that's +44 7846 110270. And I'm on WhatsApp. If you want to reach out to me on WhatsApp or just normal text message, that's fine. And if you want my social handles, just go to info.ascendcd.com. Everything's all there. You'll be able to reach out to me on social media if you need anything. Thank you and take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm not sure what time I'll be on next week. I've not looked at my schedule, but I'm sure I'll be on Facebook and YouTube next week at some point. I'm not sure what time, so please check out xTool's Facebook for the